what's up? Red Panda Anthem. Red Panda, what's good?
Yeah.
All right. So Fed Chair Jerome Powell announced that the fight against inflation will bring some pain. And as a result of that, Friday, the stock market fell 1,000 points. So should we be concerned about a global recession? And most importantly, what should we invest in?
Absolutely. So back in the day when 50 had G-Unit, it came a point where he has set young Buck Lloyd Banks down, Tony Yayo, and then he has to give him the real spiel like, things are tough. Prodigy's the only one shooting his own videos and dropping a mixtape. Things are tough. So normally when institutions or the Federal Reserve speaks in common language, you know it's really bad. Normally they're talking to other institutions and banks, but when he said, shout out to Method Man, this is going to bring some pain, it is bad. And I've been telling you since last November, the market was going to fall apart. Here we are. And I was listening to Bloomberg earlier. They're even saying the institutions and banks are finally saying 2023, we are going to have a global recession. So anytime that the Fed chair states clearly we're in trouble, it's going to get bad. I would lean less on diversification. I would do, once again, top two. So like Apple, Microsoft, one index fund. I would do 2 crypto, probably Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then a dark horse. So if you like Algorand or XRP but the first 2 you have to be really solid for the next probably 19 months to 24 months. The economy is going to be really tough. The S&P is going to end up probably in the positive, but the economy is going to be very, very, very rough. Like imagine if you're a kid and you come home and you see your mom and dad crying and you're like, what's wrong? We're like, we lost everything. Mm-hmm. He was like 2 seconds away from saying that kind of statement. Things are getting really rough.
Yeah, but I feel like he kind of did, right? When he said, who are the people that are going to be affected the most? Mm-hmm. And he said it's going to be businesses and people, everyday person, right? Like that pretty much encompasses everybody. Mm-hmm. And so just giving context to it, it was like, well, why is he saying it's going to be bad? Well, inflation hasn't slowed down. And I think I remember this post. It was like inflation's rate in March was 8.9. Inflation's rate in July was 8.8. And they were like, everybody went crazy. Like, oh my gosh, inflation's slowing down. But from everything that they're looking at, right? And obviously, the month hasn't ended. But everything they're looking at, they're saying like, this thing isn't slowing down. So we have to raise hikes again. And so now the theory is like, well, what is it going to be? Is it going to be 3/4 or is it going to be a whole point? And how long are we going to keep doing this? And he only spoke for 8 minutes, which is very unusual, right? Like it was like, my message is going to be concise. What I'm going to say is going to be very concise and it's going to be very poignant. I'm saying it directly to you. And so when you think about that, it's like, how long will we be in this? And he was like, look, it's going to be some time. Mm-hmm. And so when you hear that, then you start to see a little fear because obviously things are going to be cut back. We see the housing market is slowing down. But what he said, which is very important, is that he thinks economists, not him, but economists expect that there's going to be a huge surge in hiring. That's going to slow down.
Yeah.
So if people stop, if the inflation rises and people aren't getting jobs, now you're talking about a recipe that it's going to be really tough. And so a lot of people ask, like you said at the end of it was like, where should you invest? And we've said this before, and we even on the Breakfast Club when we said this was like, people are always going to need certain things. Like, so consumers, rather than having individual stocks like an ETF, like consumer staples or consumer discretionary communication services, like we're always going to need those things. So those might be places as far as sectors. If you want to do the top 3, look inside them. Or if you want to do the whole sector itself, you can do that as an ETF. So those are like the top 3 I would think would be good places if you're going to invest.
And the truth is, go ahead, Rashad.
No, go ahead.
If we've had quantitative easing in a low interest rate environment for 15 years, 14 years, why are we shocked that finally for 1 year, interest rates are staying the same? And the truth is interest rates, or excuse me, inflation will probably not go away for a long time, maybe for a 3 or 4 year cycle. So when they're saying we're trying to contain, like when you have NFTs going up 70% in a year, and now hedge funds are only returning 19%. You don't think at some point, even with the used car market, I mean, some cars are selling at 70% above what they're really worth. We have to get this under control. So it's tough, but tune in every week for more advice on what to do in the market and how to make money. And if I made you money, please put yes in chat. 2 tech, 2 index, no stress. This is real simple.
So
I'm just here to remind you.
Yeah, I put a post up from Josh Brown. Shout out to Josh last week. We had talked about it on Market Mondays before, but I want to revisit the conversation because the post kind of went viral online. Well, he was talking to Joe. I want to make sure I'm saying his last name.
Terranova.
Yeah, Joe Terranova. And so he was talking about presidential cycles and how the stock market historically has reacted during presidential cycles. So long story short, I'm going to just try to sum this up as quickly as possible. The second year, the first half of the second year historically has always been the worst for presidents, which has happened this year. It's been a bad year. But he said the best run for presidents is like the second half of the second year going to third year. So long story short, it'd be like from October of this year until like I think April of next year is historically the best time in the market, which that would be positive for investors if that held true from historical data. So what's your thoughts on that?
I'm interested to see. The episode was really good, and Joe Terranova, but he's one of the few people, well, not few, but one of the people on CNBC. When he talks, I listen. He actually can invest and trade well. I'm interested to see if that data, how much of that data was when quantitative easing was at full force, and how much money was pouring in. But this is why I always tell everyone, you want to hold your money for the long period. Like short-term moves don't matter. And I am a trader first. For those you don't know, welcome to the show. But what matters most is what happens in the long term. If you just buy quality, hold it, you'll move through all of these cycles and not have to worry about a bunch of this noise. So, but I'll do the research on it and report back next week, like what percentage of those gains were during stages of quantitative easing.
This that Red Panda Anthem. Ian, what's up? This that Red Panda Anthem. Red Panda, what's good? Red Panda Anthem. Your boy going up. I know they can't stand it.